things like that.
And what about if a person presents with a very serious risk to their own physical health or the health of others? What are your options then?
I guess it would depend, if they had capacity to make their decisions.
In your interaction with her on November 29th, did you also go through with her and perform a mental screening test or a mental status screening?
I did.
And why do you do that?
It gives me some objective data of how the patient presents, how is their speech, how's their appearance, what is their thought process, what's their thought content, things of that nature.
And in this meeting on November 29th of 2022, did you observe anything in which she displayed manic symptoms?
No.
And what traditionally are manic symptoms that you look for?
So there's a new mnemonic called dig fast. Try to do this quick. D is distractibility. Patient is highly distracted to lots of extraneous stimuli. There is pressured speech, grandiosity. So suddenly someone's like, I'm going to run for office. I'm going to be the president. And you're like, okay, you've never had an interest in that before. Sleep is really poor. So somebody might get 2 hours of sleep, but be go, 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 go. Increased goal-directed activity. So somebody might be painting the exterior of their house, painting the interior of their house. They might be, doing a bunch of different projects with no decompression time or feeling tired. Those are the general symptoms of mania. Sometimes there can be psychosis associated with it as well.
Okay, and so when you say mania and psychosis, are those two different things?
Yes.
And so are you also looking in these screenings to identify signs of psychosis?
Absolutely.
And what would be signs of psychosis usually?
Signs of psychosis, they can be sort of subtle. It might look like somebody's responding to, stimuli in their head, based on the way that their eyes are kind of tracking and they're not really paying attention. They may be quite guarded. They may have a delusional thought process. For example, they might think that somebody's out to get them, when there's really no basis.
When you say responding to internal stimuli, is that generally when a person hears things, auditory hallucinations,
Yes.
or sees things that aren't there,
Correct.
visual hallucinations? Mm-hmm. And in addition to kind of watching for these things in your interaction, do you flat out ask somebody if they're experiencing those symptoms?
I do.
And in this first interaction that you had with Lindsay Clancy on 11/29, did she display any psychotic symptoms?
No.
What about assessing for suicidality? Do you do that as
I do.
well?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do for that?
I generally ask, are you having any thoughts of wanting to hurt yourself or anybody else? And if the answer is yes, it sort of becomes a more in-depth assessment.
Do you go back and ask them about past thoughts?
Yes.
Whether they've articulated that? Mm-hmm. And in this case with Ms. Clancy, did she ever indicate whether she had a history of having suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideation?
She did not.
And how about homicidal ideation? Do you ask about that?
I do.
And in this instance, did she indicate whether she had any homicidal ideation or thoughts of harming other people?
No.
And as far as your observations of her presentation, like her mood and physically how she presented, did anything stand out to you as far as any of that?
She seemed anxious.
Okay.
Did I remember?
Okay, so as far as mood.
So I couldn't hear that.
Sorry, if she can finish her answer.
Sure. You done with that?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. All right.
So as far as mood, you noted her to be anxious, right?
Yes.
And you also look at a person's affect. Mm-hmm. And
You have to answer yes or no.
Yes. Sorry.
You observed her affect to be consistent with her mood, which you identified as anxious, right? Mm-hmm. And you examined somebody for their...
Sorry.
That's okay. Thought process, right?
Right.
And what did you observe her thought process to be?
I observed her thought process to be linear, meaning you could follow it, her train of thought easily, and goal-directed. She understood that she was there to be assessed for treatment. It seemed to be her goal.
And do you also perform other screenings like the generalized anxiety depression scale and the Edinburgh Scale?
I do.
And did you do that for Lindsay Clancy on November 29th?
I did.
And what were the results of those screens?
So the Edinburgh Scale is out of 30. She was 17.
What does that mean?
Moderate to severe symptoms, postpartum depression.
Now, with that particular screening tool that you can use, is it fair to say that with postpartum women, it often fluctuates?
It can. The patient is asked about the previous 7 days.
And as far as the generalized anxiety depression scale, what were the results of that screen?
May I look? 14 out of a total of 21.
And so what does that mean?
That would mean moderately severe anxiety.
And do you recall about how much or how long your interaction with her was on this telehealth visit?
It would have been 30 minutes.
And as a result of your interaction with her, did you come up with a plan moving forward as to what to do to address her issues or her concerns?
Yes.
What was the plan?
Continue Remeron 15 milligrams nightly, Ativan as needed. Those medications had been prescribed to her already. I did not write her any prescriptions at that visit.
And again, you indicated that you kind of encouraged her to stick with the Remeron and give it a chance to work.
Yes.
Was she receptive to doing that?
Yes.
And as far as, again, the sleep issue, based on your conversation with her and her request to continue with the Ativan, that's what you recommended?
Yes.
Did you also recommend other types of treatment that were not pharmacological?
Yes.
And what were those?
I recommended therapy, mindfulness, physical activity, meditation.
And you're aware that in the past she had reported physical activity was something that had been helpful to her?
Yes, I believe with her postpartum period with Dawson, her middle child, she had some anxiety, but it seemed to resolve with exercise in particular.
And fair to say, as it pertains to that experience, her postpartum with Dawson, she had reported at some point to the clinic that she had sought medication after having Dawson and that she didn't end up taking that medication, right?
Correct.
Now, after this particular follow-up, what's your practice when you're dealing with a patient to have them have an intervention if they need to get in touch with you or they have concerns before your next scheduled meeting?
I generally advise for non-emergencies, you can message me on the Epic portal.
Is that generally referred to as My Chart?
My Chart, yeah.
And so My Chart, you could kind of go back and forth with messages, right?
Yes.
Did you encourage Lindsay to utilize My Chart if she felt the need to reach out to you before your next scheduled appointment?
Yes.
And at the end of that meeting, what was the plan for the next scheduled appointment? What was the track that you would ask her to be on as far as regular visits?
1 week.
And is that typical, 1 week?
1 to 2 weeks would be typical for a new patient.
And based on her report of symptoms or potential symptoms, was it important to you to identify if there were any changes?
Absolutely.
Now, were you aware by the time that meeting was completed that she did have an appointment scheduled with the social worker at your clinic, Letitia Dukes, for December 2nd?
I was aware of that, yes.
Now, after this meeting, so this was approximately 10:30 in the morning on 11/29, right?
Yes,
Did you have communication or contact with Lindsay Clancy on November 30th?
I did.
How did you have contact with her on that day?
She messaged me on the MyChart portal.
And you're aware that on that particular morning, Julie had informed her that she was leaving?
Yes.
Or were you aware, I should say?
Yes.
Now, when Lindsay messaged you, that was at 11 a.m. That was the first message, correct?
I would have to look at the note for the time.
Okay. Do you have those?
I do have the messages. I believe that'll be accurate. It was 11 a.m. Yep.
And did she ask you something specific in that message?
She did.
What did she ask you?
She asked me if it would be safe to stop taking Remeron after 5 nights.
So you had just met with her on November 29th.
Correct.
And talked about stopping Remeron, or talked about the concerns with Remeron.
We talked about continuing it on the 29th, yes.
But as far as the starting of that meeting, or where you were talking with her about the medication, she had already reported concerns with that medication, right?
Yes.
And so you encouraged her to stick with it, and then the next day she's asking to stop again.
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall that in that message she indicated that in the course of that night that the depression, she felt like the depression was much, much worse and not helping her sleep, and that she only got 2 hours?
Yes.
And she asked for a phone call from you, right?
Yes.
And did you call her back or did you message her back?
I messaged her back, but I also believe I had my nurse call her back because I was in between patients.
Okay. And so when you messaged her back, what did you ask her about to address that concern about stopping the Remeron after 5 nights?